She was just the janitor, ignored, underestimated, and eventually humiliated when a can of soda was poured over her in front of the entire office. But what her arrogant co-workers didn't know was that Cassandra Monroe wasn't there to clean the floors. She was there to expose the rot at the top. When her billionaire husband walked through the executive elevator doors and revealed her true identity, what began as petty cruelty unraveled into a sweeping corporate reckoning. This is the story of how one woman turned humiliation into justice, and justice into a movement that changed everything. The Vanguard Digital Solutions office was half empty the Friday before Labor Day, a lull perfect for calculated cruelty. Cassandra Monroe, 34, quietly pushed her janitor cart through the common area, her uniform damp with sweat from scrubbing conference room floors. It was just another day of invisible labor until it wasn't. She had bent over to retrieve a crumpled napkin beneath the copy machine when she heard the hiss of carbonation. Then came the sting. Cold, sticky liquid burst across her back, soaking into her collar and running down the seam of her neck. "Oops!" came the voice. Lauren Whitfield. 41 smiled like a viper in pearls. One manicured hand held the empty soda can, the other casually rested on her hip. Behind her stood Zachary Klein, who was already lifting his phone to record, and Annika Doss, who was giggling as she composed a tweet. Cassandra didn't flinch, not visibly, but something sharpened behind her eyes, not pain, not even anger, precision, timing. Her internal voice whispered, "Let them think you're nothing." "Why thought you looked thirsty?" Lauren sneered, stepping forward. "Soda's on the house, or should I say, on the floor." Laughter. A snort from the intern desk. No one intervened. The cola soaked through Cassandra's gray jumpsuit, clinging to her skin in cold humiliation. Her hands tightened on the janitor cart's handle. She looked down at the reports she had stacked near the copier, earlier, now splattered and curling at the edges from the spill. But she didn't move to clean it. Not yet. Instead, she glanced at the silver Vacheron Constantin watch on her wrist, a detail none of them had ever noticed. 32 p.m. Tick-tock, she thought, 3 more minutes. She adjusted her posture, then resumed pushing the cart slowly down the corridor, not toward the utility closet, but toward the panoramic lounge where half the office had gathered to celebrate early departures. Her heart didn't race. Her breath didn't quicken. She had rehearsed this moment not in fantasy but in structure, in strategy, in cold, clear memory. 6 months. That's how long she had been here. 6 months of whispering slurs, of ignored contributions, of stolen lunch breaks and accidental CCs on emails, where her name was the joke. 6 months of collecting everything. She reached the glass doors, turned the corner, and paused by the espresso station. Soda still dripping from her back, people laughed behind her. Phones lit up. Zach's voice rang out. "Vanguard's Diversity Queen, brought to you by Coca-Cola." Cassandra reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. No emotion on her face, no tremble in her fingers. She typed a single word into a secure chat app. "Now," and then she waited. The whole room had no idea what was coming. "You know your place, right?" Lauren hissed as she circled Cassandra like a predator, testing the wire of an unfamiliar cage. Her stilettos clacked deliberately across the marble floor, echoing in the wide glass atrium. "Don't start thinking a polished accent and big eyes get you a promotion." Cassandra stood still, her hands gently folded on the handle of her cart. Her soaked uniform clung to her frame like a second skin, darkened by syrup and shame. But it wasn't a shame she wore. Inside, Cassandra counted her breaths. 1 for every time they laughed behind your back. 2 for every time they deleted your name from the credit slides. 3 for the nights you worked while they toasted their stolen victories. Zach, still filming, zoomed in. "Hey, Cass. Smile for the camera. We'll frame this and put it next to the mop bucket." Anika snorted, or next to the mission statement. "Isn't this what inclusion looks like?" The crowd around the lounge chuckled, not out of malice but comfort. Cruelty, when dressed in office sarcasm, becomes entertainment. A performance, and Cassandra was their unwilling actress. "Tell me something," Lauren said, her tone now dripping with mock sweetness. "Did you take this job because it makes you feel close to people like us? Or was this the only gig your kind could get?" Something cracked in the room. Not a sound, a temperature, a shift. Cassandra turned her head slowly. Her eyes met Lauren's, calm and utterly impenetrable. "Is that the best you've got?" she asked softly. Lauren blinked. Zach lowered his phone slightly. That was when the first ding echoed from the far end of the floor, the sound of the executive elevator. The one that never opened for anyone below VP level. The one that required biometric access. Anika frowned. Is someone from the board here? Cassandra looked at her watch. 3:35 p.m. Right on time. She tilted her chin slightly and whispered to herself. Curtain up. The sound of footsteps on marble, slower measured. And nothing like the hollow clicks of Lauren's heels. These steps carried weight authority. A hush swept over the lounge like a sudden power outage. Every head turned toward the elevator. Out stepped two men in tailored black suits, eyes scanning the room with the alert precision of private security. Between them walked a tall man whose presence seemed to vacuum the air from the room. He was striking with salt and pepper hair, brushed back from a high forehead, and a jaw that held tension like a coiled spring. He wore a midnight blue Armani suit that fit him like armor. No name badge, no lanyard, no need. He didn't glance around. He didn't need to. He saw Cassandra immediately. Cass, he said one word. Spoken softly, and yet it sliced through the silence like a blade. Lauren blinked rapidly. Wait, what is this? Zach's hand shook as he tried to stop the recording. Cassandra stepped forward, not as a janitor, not as a victim, but as someone stepping into her own name. That to Dominic, she said with calm clarity. He reached her side, gently touching her arm. As his eyes narrowed on the soda-stained uniform, rage flickered at the edges of his otherwise controlled face. Then he turned to the room. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, voice calm, deep and ice smooth. My name is Dominic Rowe. I'm the CEO of Rowe Capital Partners, Cespost. A beat. And as of 2 fiscal quarters ago, Rowe Capital became the majority stakeholder in Vanguard Digital Solutions. Silence. Stunned, gaping, stifled silence. Dominic turned to Lauren, Zach, and Anika, each one paler than the last. You just publicly assaulted and humiliated my wife. Zach dropped his phone. Anika's eyes widened. Wife. Cassandra stepped beside her husband, the image of calm. And now, she said, her voice level, you're about to find out what happens when people who look down on others find themselves looking up at consequences. Dominic's tone cooled further, slicing the air like tempered steel. Security. He called, not raising his voice, but somehow making it echo. Escort these 3 individuals to HR effective immediately. Gasps burst from the crowd. Chairs creaked as employees sat up straighter. Phones stopped recording. Conversations died mid-sentence. You can't be serious, Lauren barked. This is outrageous. You can't fire us over a joke. Dominic didn't even blink. You're right, I'm not firing you because of a joke. I'm firing you because of documented harassment, racism, defamation, and the public humiliation of an employee. He gestured to Cassandra, who stood tall beside him. My wife. Anika began to visibly tremble. Zach's skin went ghostly pale. Lauren opened her mouth again, but Cassandra stepped forward. I recorded everything, she said quietly. Every whispered slur, every stolen idea, every email in which you used my name as a punchline. Every time you scheduled meetings without telling me, you then claimed I wasn't contributing. From her pocket, Cassandra retrieved a slim USB drive. This contains 6 months of data logs, audio-visual, written all time, stamped all real. A man in a gray suit appeared behind Dominic. He held a thick folder in one hand. Legal copies for each individual, as well as company compliance records, he said smoothly. Lauren staggered back. You set us up? No. Cassandra replied, looking her directly in the eye. I gave you 6 months to show who you really are. You did the rest. Yawas. To be continued. The silence after Cassandra's words was almost unbearable. You could hear the hum of the overhead lights, the faint whir of an espresso machine left unattended. Dominic took the folder from his legal advisor and opened it calmly, revealing screenshots, transcripts, printed emails, and HR reports that had mysteriously never made it to upper management. He held up one page. This, he said, turning it for the crowd to see, is an internal chat log where Zach refers to Cassandra as a quota filler and jokes about hiding the company's silverware. He turned to another, and here, Anika, this is your tweet, the one where you hashtagged, course, trash takes out, nasestor, iespor, trash, inborar to store. You posted that the night you sabotaged her client analytics file, correct? Anika gasped. That was supposed to be private. It was posted publicly. Cassandra interrupted, her voice firm. And it was archived within 2 minutes. You forget I built the internal backup system here. I see everything. Lauren's arms were folded tight against her chest, but her knuckles were white. You don't have the right. I have every right, Cassandra said, stepping forward. Because while you were laughing at me, I was documenting everything. And while you mocked my job title, I was quietly finalizing a patent for the algorithm you just sold to 2 Fortune 500 clients. She looked toward the wider office. To everyone who sat by and watched, it's okay. I don't want your guilt, but I do want your awareness, because this, what you just saw, happens every day to people who don't have someone powerful walking out of an elevator for them. Dominic added, that changes today. He placed the folder on the reception desk. Effective immediately, Row Capital is initiating a full audit of Vanguard Digital Solutions. Anyone found complicit in workplace discrimination, harassment, or retaliation at any level will face consequences. Und in estas. A wave of uneasy murmurs spread through the room. Cassandra met their eyes without blinking. This wasn't just about me. This was about every quiet voice you silenced. Every room you made feel smaller just by existing louder. Her voice cracked just slightly, not from weakness, but from the gravity of holding back truth for so long. That ends today. To be continued. The crowd began to murmur. Shock, guilt, and awe rippled across the room like a tremor. But Cassandra wasn't finished. You want to know who I am? She asked, stepping forward no longer, the woman they thought they could laugh at. I'm Cassandra Monroe, data scientist architect of the Prometheus algorithm, and the reason Vanguard is still profitable. Several gasps broke out. The name Prometheus had echoed in high-level meetings for weeks. It was the revolutionary AI-based predictive engine that had landed Vanguard 2 massive contracts in Q2. Zach turned to Lauren. That was her. We sold her code. Lauren looked like she'd swallowed glass. That's not possible. She's just a janitor. Cassandra finished, her eyebrow arched. No, I was embedded here under a confidentiality agreement, part of a pilot diversity audit overseen by Row Capital. I wasn't here to clean your floors. I was here to clean your system. Her words hung in the air like thunder. Dominic nodded. The Prometheus engine is patented in Cassandra's name, and as of this morning, the exclusive rights have been acquired by Row Capital. Wanda decius ispaumbraboams milaster. He looked straight at Lauren, meaning legally every dollar of revenue from that software will never touch your bonuses again. Annika sat down slowly as if her legs had forgotten how to stand. Cassandra continued, her voice steady, almost gentle. I came here hoping maybe things had changed, that merit mattered, that my work would be enough. But I was reminded that sometimes it doesn't matter how good you are, how hard you work, or how quiet you stay. Some people will still try to erase you. She turned to the crowd. Until you show them that you can't be erased. Or. Dominic placed a hand on her shoulder, but it was clear she didn't need him to speak anymore. She was the one rewriting the story now. To be continued. Dominic turned to his legal aid. Proceed. The man nodded and handed over 3 sealed envelopes to the guards. Inside were immediate termination notices, legal waivers, and a breakdown of conduct violations signed, time-stamped, and witnessed. Yeah, this is ridiculous. Lauren shrieked, grabbing hers. You can't just fire us on the spot. We have contracts. You broke them, the aide replied coolly. Repeatedly with cause, Zach stumbled backward, panic replacing smugness. I didn't mean any of it. It was just office humor. I didn't know she was... It shouldn't have mattered who I was. Cassandra cut in, her voice like velvet over steel. You shouldn't need someone's title or husband or bank account to treat them with respect. Anika looked genuinely stunned, now tears forming. I have bills. A family. I didn't think it would go this far. Cassandra paused, then said softly, I had bills too. While you were mocking me, I was skipping meals to save up for my sister's surgery. And every time you laughed at me in the break room, you were laughing at someone trying to survive with grace. Dominic added, and now you'll experience what you tried to do to her erasure, except yours will be backed by documented legal filings shared with every firm in our hiring network. Murmurs filled the room. No one moved, no one defended the trio. Not this time. Cassandra turned to face the rest of the employees. This isn't just about firing 3 people. This is about building something stronger in their place. To be continued. Cassandra turned toward the large monitor behind the reception desk. "Turn it on," she said calmly. An assistant scrambled to comply. The screen flickered to life, revealing a slide deck titled, "The Cassandra Initiative." "This isn't just about justice," Cassandra began, her voice carrying across the room. "It's about transformation." She clicked to the next slide. It displayed the logo of a new foundation, a scholarship fund aimed at supporting underrepresented voices in data science, AI, and corporate leadership. "Effective today, we're launching the Cassandra Initiative," she said, seated with the equity stripped from these terminations. "And with matching grants from Row Capital, we will be funding full scholarships for young people who look, like I once did, overlooked, underestimated, and powerful beyond measure." A wave of applause broke out, genuine, stunned, some even tearful. Dominic stepped forward. "Every dollar they tried to hoard will now fund futures, and every company in our network will be held to a new standard of equity. I mean, that's so, winks these from. The screen switched again. This time it displayed a national partnership. Several top universities had already signed on. Cassandra looked around the room, her voice soft now. "Because the best revenge isn't destruction. It's construction. We're not tearing down. We're building up. People were standing now, not in fear, in respect." To be continued. Within 48 hours, Vanguard Digital Solutions, HR department, received over 19 formal resignation requests. Not because people feared Cassandra, but because they finally feared accountability. Cassandra didn't relish it. She didn't smile at the collapse of the toxic tower she had once silently mopped the floor of. Instead, she spent her time finalizing the first round of Cassandra Initiative applicants and reviewing grant proposals from inner-city education programs. Meanwhile, news of the incident spread like wildfire across social media. A viral headline read, "Janitor turned. CEO in disguise launches 50-minute equity initiative after workplace humiliation." Lauren, Zach, and Annika became case studies in corporate training videos. Zach was denied at over 30 job interviews. Lauren's defamation suit against Row Capital was thrown out in court. Annika retreated from public life, entirely reportedly living in her mother's basement and avoiding all social platforms. But Cassandra didn't mention them again. She had bigger things to build. Dominic installed her as head of the Diversity and Ethics Board across all Row Capital partners. Cassandra's first order of business require a comprehensive inclusion audit across all tech firms in their portfolio. Tom, the quiet IT analyst who once helped her discreetly document abuse, was promoted to Director of Internal Systems. His first act, encrypt and archive. All internal chats for equity monitoring. The company wasn't just changing, it was evolving, and Cassandra's fingerprints were coded into its DNA. To be continued. Exactly 1 year later, Cassandra stood behind a glass podium at the Metropolitan Innovation Summit. She wasn't in a jumpsuit. She wasn't pushing a janitor's cart. She wore a sleek black suit and a quiet smile that told the world, "I remember everything." Behind her, a screen displayed the updated figure. The Cassandra Initiative, 427 scholarships awarded, 12 startups. Funded 38 equity audits completed. Applause echoed through the massive auditorium as cameras flashed. Fortune 500 CEOs, tech innovators, civil rights leaders, and scholarship recipients filled the seats. Cassandra cleared her throat. 1 year ago, I was publicly humiliated on the 42nd floor of a company I helped save. She began. Some said I should have stayed quiet. Others said I was foolish to keep working when I didn't need the money, but I wasn't there for money. I was there to see the truth from the inside, to prove what dignity looks like under pressure. She paused. The crowd held their breath. And this story was never just about revenge. Revenge ends when the enemy falls. Justice begins when the next generation rises. Her eyes scanned the first row of students, some barely old enough to vote, others in. Lab coats, engineers, coders, researchers. All of them had once been invisible too. So, let this be the new standard. Don't just build power. Use it. Don't just survive injustice. Rewrite the system. Don't just dream of change. Be it. Thunderous applause erupted. People stood. Some cried. Dominic, seated in the wings, looked at her like it was the first time he'd ever seen her speak. The woman who once cleaned the floors had now redesigned the foundation. And as she left the stage, a young girl barely 17, a scholarship recipient from the Bronx, caught her hand. "Ms. Monroe," she whispered, "you changed everything." Cassandra smiled, remembering the sting of that soda can. "No," she said softly as we did. The end. Expert commentary and closing reflection. Dr. Helena Park, professor of organizational ethics at NYU, commented on Cassandra Monroe's story. What Cassandra did was more than brave. It was architecturally transformative. She understood that justice isn't about public takedowns. It's about structural rewrites. The Cassandra Initiative now stands as a case study in how lived experience can translate into systemic reform when guided by intelligence, restraint, and vision. The story of Cassandra Monroe reminds us that no role is ever too small to spark a revolution. Behind every uniform, every underestimated title could be someone holding the blueprint to a better world. If this story inspired you, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories of resilience, transformation, and poetic justice. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment where silence becomes strength and strength becomes legacy. Together, let's amplify voices that matter. Justice stories and soul-stirring narratives. Shop at Cassandra Effect.